It was one of those quiet evenings when I just needed to breathe. No noise, no thoughts, just a cold bottle of beer and the hum of soft music playing from the local bar down the street. I wasn't looking for anything more than a short escape from the world. The bar was dimly lit, sparsely populated, the kind of place where you could sit without being noticed. I was nursing my second bottle, the sweat from the glass dampening my palm, when the door creaked open. A dark sedan pulled up outside. Moments later, the bar's atmosphere shifted. She stepped out of the car like she was walking on rhythm, tall, curvy, in a red dress that clung to her in ways that made it hard not to stare. She had that kind of careless beauty that both intrigued and warned you. Her steps wobbled slightly, the alcohol in her bloodstream clearly winning the argument with balance. But what stunned me more was what happened next. She walked straight toward me without hesitation, as if she'd known me all her life. Before I could react, she lowered herself right onto my lap, arms draped around my neck like we were lovers reunited. Her breath smelled faintly of whiskey and mint. Her eyes, glazed yet haunting, met mine with an eerie sort of familiarity. "You're warm," she murmured, settling in like it was her rightful place. "Excuse me. Are you okay?" I asked, trying to figure out if this was a prank or a very drunk mistake. Just then, another woman, slightly older and far more sober-looking, rushed toward us. She sat on the chair next to me, her face flushed with embarrassment and frustration. "Amara, please," she pleaded, tugging at the woman on my lap. "Let's go. You've had enough." Amara, the name suddenly gave life to the stranger on me, shook her head with a childish defiance. "No," she slurred. "You're drunk. I won't let you drive me. This young man," she turned and locked her eyes on mine. "He will take us home instead. Won't you?" For a second, I just stared at her. At both of them. Two strangers had dragged me into a script I hadn't rehearsed for. I looked at the other woman, her friend or sister maybe. She looked mortified. I hesitated, but there was something in Amara's voice, in the fragile confidence with which Shed declared me her savior. Something more than drunken boldness. Maybe it was trust. Or desperation. "They'll make sure she gets home safe," I said finally, not entirely sure why. Her friend let out a breath, somewhere between relief and worry. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Zikora. Please, don't let her out of your sight." Amara smiled softly, eyes fluttering shut against my shoulder like a child who'd finally found rest. That was the night I didn't go home after 2 bottles. The night a stranger chose me, of all people, to be her guardian. And somewhere deep in my chest I felt it, that strange tug in the heart that tells you your evening had just taken a turn into something unforgettable. With Amara's arms still looped loosely around my neck, she pressed her lips gently to my cheek. It wasn't a seductive kiss, it was soft, almost childlike, but it sent a strange flutter through my chest. Her voice came next, warm and slurred against my ear. "Let's go." Zikora handed me the keys to the car with a look that held both gratitude and a silent warning. "Drive carefully," she said as she slid into the back seat. "And don't let her say too much. Drunk Amara is poetic and full of secrets." I didn't know what that meant, but I would soon learn. In the car, Amara leaned into me, humming softly to the tune of an old Asa song playing on the radio. Her hand found mine without invitation, fingers curling like they'd belonged there all along. I glanced at her occasionally, half focused on the road, half focused on the weight of her presence. She smelled like vanilla and something wild, like the edge of a storm. Zikora, from behind, gave directions in a low voice. "Third right after the traffic light. Now turn left. That cream-colored building. Park near the stairs." It was a modest block of flats, the kind that had seen better years. The compound was quiet, save for a dog barking somewhere in the distance and the occasional flicker of a neighbor's TV through cracked curtains. Amara stirred as I cut the engine. "Carry me," she whispered, her voice almost a purr. I got out, walked around, and opened her door. She flung her arms around my shoulders before I even asked. I cradled her weight as she giggled against my neck. "I like your heartbeat," she said. "It's calm." Safe. The stairs weren't kind, 3 flights up, with Zecora trailing behind with a sigh and Amara swaying in my arms like a sleepy siren. We reached the door, and Zecora unlocked it quickly. Thank you, she said, eyes soft now. Just help me get her to the couch. I carried Amara in, noting the apartment smelled like lavender and spice. Feminine and cozy. I eased her onto the couch, but as I tried to pull away, her arms held tight around my neck. Don't go yet, she whispered. Just stay. Just a little. Zecora looked at me, then back at her. You can stay for a few minutes, she said gently. They'll go put on some tea. Amara looked up at me from the couch, her eyes glassy but open, seeing something I couldn't name. You're different, she said. I knelt beside her. You don't even know me. She smiled, fingers brushing the side of my face. I know you're kind. I know you didn't have to help. I know. My heart's not afraid of you. The silence between us grew thick. Her thumb traced my jaw. She leaned forward slightly, our faces dangerously close, her breath warm against my lips. I dreamt of someone like you once, she said. Maybe this is the part where I stopped dreaming. And in that moment, despite the madness, despite not knowing who she really was or where this road would lead, I felt it too, that strange sense of fate curling around us like smoke. Zecora returned with 2 mugs of tea. She handed me one and sat opposite, watching Amara drift toward sleep, still holding my hand like a lifeline. That night, I didn't rush to leave. I sat there, quietly sipping tea in a stranger's apartment, next to a woman who felt oddly familiar, and beside her best friend who was watching me like I might be the beginning of a story they weren't ready for, but deeply needed.
The tea had gone cold in my hands, but I didn't move. Amara had dozed off on the couch, her head resting gently on my lap now, her breathing slow and even. Every few seconds, her fingers would tighten faintly around mine, as though something inside her still needed anchoring. Zecora sat in the single armchair across from us, legs crossed, mug in hand, watching in silence. She never does this, she said at last, breaking the quiet with a voice low and deliberate. I looked up. What do you mean? This, she said, gesturing at the scene before her. Letting anyone in. Holding hands. Falling asleep next to someone she just met. Not since. She trailed off, then sipped her tea. Never mind. I waited. Something in the way she spoke told me this wasn't casual chatter. It was loaded, cautious, but needing release. She was engaged, Zecora said, eyes still on her friend. For months to the wedding. She'd found the perfect man, or so she thought. The kind that smiled with his mouth and lied with his soul. I felt a twinge in my chest. He hurt her? Zecora nodded. Badly. Emotionally. Publicly. She left everything behind. Her job, her apartment, even Lagos. Moved here with nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of scars. I looked down at Amara, so peaceful now, so trusting in a way that seemed borrowed from a former version of herself. She's still healing, Zecora continued, softer this time, but she hides it under laughter and mischief. That kiss she gave you? That playful confidence? That's her shield. The real Amara is scared, tired, but still hoping. The room felt smaller then, the air thick with something intimate, sacred. I didn't mean to, I began. You didn't do anything wrong, Zecora interrupted. In fact, I think, maybe you did something right. She chose you tonight. For whatever reason, in her drunken haze, her heart reached out. Maybe it remembered something before her head could interfere. I didn't know what to say, so I just sat there, my hands still in Amara's, my mind slowly folding into the strange gravity of this evening. Zecora stood, walked over, and placed a throw blanket gently over Amara's legs. Then she looked at me with eyes both tender and commanding. You can stay until she wakes, but when she does, be gentle. She'll pretend not to remember. That's her way of protecting herself. But if you want to stay in her life, don't let her hide. She turned and walked toward the hallway, pausing before disappearing into her room. She talks in her sleep, Zecora added. Listen carefully. She tells the truth when she thinks no one's listening. Then the door closed behind her, and I was alone again with Amara, except this time, I didn't feel like a stranger in a bar anymore. I felt like a man standing at the edge of something unexpected, and possibly beautiful. The apartment had fallen into a heavy stillness, the kind of silence that wraps around you like a blanket and makes the outside world feel like it never existed. Amara shifted in her sleep, her head still resting on my lap, her fingers finally still in mine. I studied her face in the soft amber glow of a side lamp, the delicate rise and fall of her chest, the faint crease in her brow, the smudge of mascara beneath her lashes. She looked peaceful, but not entirely at ease. Then it began. A whisper, barely audible. A breath laced with emotion. Don't go. I leaned in a little, afraid even the sound of my breathing might drown her out. I waited, she murmured. I waited by the window that day, in the white dress. I waited until the sun set and the music stopped. A pause. Tiny hitch in her breath. Her fingers twitched like they were trying to hold onto something that wasn't there. Why didn't you come? I froze. The words were like puzzle pieces tumbling out of a broken box. Fragmented, delicate, but rich with memory. Then more followed. A stream of pain cloaked in softness. I was enough. He just didn't see it. No one ever really does. My heart clenched. These weren't just sleepy ramblings. This was grief. A wound shed tucked away somewhere too deep for daylight. I laugh so I don't drown, she whispered next, almost inaudibly. I flirt so I don't fade. She shifted again, pressing her face closer to my thigh as if she could hide inside the warmth. Her hand, still touching mine, clutched tighter this time. But tonight, her voice trembled. You held me, and I felt seen, even drunk, even broken. You saw me. I swallowed hard. The weight of her words pinned me to the moment. Something in me cracked open quietly, as if she had whispered a truth I hadn't even known I was waiting to hear. She let out a long breath then, the kind of breath that sounds like surrender. I wish it could be real. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just held her hand and watched her sleep, the ache in my chest growing with every confession she didn't know she was making. The storm inside her was beautiful, and broken, and painfully honest, and somehow, I didn't want to run from it. I wanted to understand it, to heal it, to earn whatever part of her had whispered, you saw me. I sat there until the first light of dawn pressed gently against the window, still holding her hand, still listening, still choosing her even if she hadn't fully chosen me yet.